hypofunction? Are they related?
That's an interesting question. So vestibular hypofunction is when one vestibular nerve or one vestibular system isn't working as well as the other side. So you have a vestibular system on the right and one on the left, and let's imagine for all intents and purposes that the right side has had some sort of trauma. So now the most common reason that people get loss of function on one side is probably something like an inner ear infection. And we do know that some studies have shown is as high as 1/3 of people who had an inner ear infection go on to develop BPPV. There are a number of different studies that have looked at people with Meniere's disease and even migraineurs, and they tend to get a much higher percent of people who get BPPV. So in the regular population, about 1.5 or 2.5% of the people get BPPV, but it increases your probability of getting BPPV by 3 to 7-fold if you have had a unilateral vestibular loss or a one-sided deficit, whether that's due to trauma or whether that's due to an inner ear infection or a disease process. So we don't really know why. I guess there has been a lot of work that's been done over the years on nerves, and we think of nerves as being kind of a one-way thing, that a sensory nerve would go from the sensory organ, which in this case is your vestibular system, go up to your brain, speak to your brain, and that's it. But we actually the reality is probably a little more complex than that. And it may be that the retrograde or information coming back down from the brain back down into the vestibular system, that somehow the health of the nerve affects the health of the whole vestibular system, the whole organ. So it may be that people who have vestibular hypofunction, or one you're not working as well, that the whole vestibular system doesn't work quite as well, and so they may be more likely to get some of the crystals sloughing off. That may be why, as I said, generally speaking, it's 3 to 7 times more likely than the average population that people will get BPPV. I will just also mention that the special case of trauma, we know that people who have trauma-induced BPPV are significantly more likely to have recurrence of their BPPV, and it tends to be a little bit almost stronger, and it often happens at a younger population. So BPPV may look a little different when its starting point is trauma versus its starting point being a disease process or infection, like Meniere's disease or vestibular neuritis.
Great, thanks, Nicole. There are several questions